Madlib playing as India. Getting that 250 wood. So we can go for the barracks and for a hunt storehouse. He is actually going to kill the boar right next to his berries as well. So he's probably just going to... Oh, this is very smart, very safe. This isn't going to sustain him as long as a normal hunt will, though. So he will eventually have to move out. Probably over here. I'm just judging by this pile. I mean, this different terrain texture and that single tree. That'll be a hunt. Yep, it's a hunt. The Hoover opening barracks as well. He's gone straight on the hunt. So this is worth a lot more than 500 because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 or 9 there by 150, so what's that? That's, you know, like 1200 food almost. So Madlib is going to have to shift off this, but it does also mean he's got a lot of close trees, doesn't have to have a lot of walk time, can just switch to the berries without much difficulty, and is pretty hard to try and raid here. And this means he's got the pick of the litter. He doesn't necessarily have to go front side hunt ASAP. Gives himself time to scout out and find which are the safest hunts around the base. Because there might be one over here in the back corner, and there is one over in this back corner. The Hoover, in the meanwhile, going for a more aggressive hunt here. Calling him lucky. Because there is another hunt over here. It's not really any towards the back. So two sort of mid-range hunts. One a little bit further away than the other. Madlib with a couple of... not too many other hunts around his base, but just having that close pair of boars. He does get the other boar in the end, so that'll also be big. This will, you know, make it comparable to sitting on a hunt. Still not quite as many resources, but it's close. So the Hoover can't really find an early raiding opportunity. Cut spears only do 11 damage these days. They used to do 12. And I mean, they're cheaper. But the Indian spear is a hell of a lot tankier as well. These train faster? Yeah, 1 second faster. So Madlib now going to actually shift onto a hunt. Nearly finished this boar. Very nice. Safe, secluded opening from him. Neither player's really looking to push. For Hoover can age up, he's got plenty of food in the bank. He just needs that third house to finish. So he's going to go for that pretty quickly there. Madlib not far off aging up himself. I think he'll probably go for it after this villager. So 16 villagers apiece. Will be 17 for Madlib before he ages. So the beauty of spear, massing up spears, you can get this many and still age up at about 16 villagers. On the old gather rate, you'd be aging up at like 20. Maybe not quite that high, maybe 18 or 19. Fast town centre, rather than being something you hold off till about 13 to 14 villages, you're getting at about 11 to 12 now. Hoover can just go for a lot of stone here. Handsaw. Madlib's age up's not far away. He'll be able to go for handsaw straight away. He'll be able to get the town centre almost straight away as well. The Hoover's actually overgathered a little bit of wood here. So he's putting a couple of guys on stone from the wood right now just to speed up, expedite that process. I've got to try not to use too many big words because people won't understand what I mean. It's not that y'all are dumb. Nah, it's... makes it easier for all the people that aren't native English speakers if I sort of use more simplistic terms. So the Hoover expanding forward, Madlib expanding backward. There's a lot of resources for both of them to control by doing so. So good picks for the town centre positions, I think. And Celt just like to have a lot of go forward. They're a bit like Norse, where you're in this weird spot where even though you don't have access to H2 Bowman, if you can play aggressively in Age 2, it means when you get to Age 3, you've got the room and the time to actually make your transitions to getting a lot of ranges, getting your stables, getting all those unit types that you weren't able to get in Age 2. Whereas someone like Greeks, Persia, India, where even though you've got on paper the more well-rounded out Age 2 compositions available, you know, you've got to try and hit a critical mass with them. And if your opponent's able to put a bit of pressure on you and slow you down so you're not going into Age 3 quicker, you know, you can't just get champion upgrades on all those and just push to win. You know, the Celt player has to stop and get Bowman and Horseman. The Norse player has to stop and get Bowman. Heading into Age... well, once they've headed into Age 3. Romans, you know, you can get either Bowman or Scorpios. And Ekes. I mean, the beauty of Romans is at least Ekes, you can just mindlessly spam them out of your barracks equivalent, the Castellum. Double range here from Madlib again. Oh, double barracks. No stables early on just yet, so... I guess there's no dire need for a really early stables. You sort of want to get your opponent to make a good number of slingers before you worry too much about getting a stables. Whereas if Madlib's up against another Bowman Civ, like Greeks, India or Persia, or Babylon, you're probably going to want to get a stables instead of one of these two buildings. You know, go for the barracks and the range, but then go for a stables, and then worry about adding more barracks and ranges. It's just that being Celt, Vahuva, you know, his backline, he can counter archery range units, but he doesn't have the, like, he can't project force and attack non-counter units as easily. Like, the Bowmen just have a higher base damage, so when it comes to fighting against stables units, when it comes to fighting against things you don't directly counter, Slingers and Skirmishers are the worst units in the game at it, probably followed by Norse Throwing Axemen. So another barracks here for Vahuva. So he's on one barracks, one range, adding that third barracks. Madlib's added a lot more production already. He's already up to the 4 buildings to Vahuva's 2, but Vahuva is getting a grove and another barracks. Vahuva is going to want to try and focus down the Bowman with his slingers, so he's doing so already. That's very good control from him. I think this fight's gone better off for him than Madlib was expecting. Because Vahuva is focusing down the Bowman with his slingers really well here. So Madlib's backline does collapse there. He does have to retreat for the moment. Will want to go for a stables here. So yeah, that'll be his next building choice. There's a lot of production to invest in and not have conditioning and not have any stables units. Like I said, if it was a different matchup, I think Madlib definitely would have gone for the stables faster here. Because bear in mind, there is still 4 spears in the mix. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if they can even just snare the Taranga, it makes it a lot harder to engage on the slingers. Madlib adding a third archery range before he goes for an armory. And he has just had 1 villager the whole time gathering stone. Oh, in fact, he's got a second now. So he's going to go for the armory. He could actually put the second villager on it to get it a bit quicker. Oh, it's Vahuva actually that's gathered a shitload of stone. Yeah, Vahuva's got a lot of stone. He might be looking to go Age 3 pretty quickly here, but he needs to get a bit more gold. Adding another range and barracks there. Hasn't got his armory on the way yet, but he has got plenty of gold, plenty of stone. Yeah, he's going to start on the armory now. But I mean, he can pretty much afford the 3rd town centre at this stage, so it's just a matter of getting the gold to get there. I'm going to be over-gathering a bit on the wood too, I think, Vahuva. He's going to have to be a bit careful of that, because he's not got a huge amount of food gatherers. Madlib's eco, as much as it looks like he's banking a lot of food, I think it's a lot more better pace. You might just want to put 1 or 2 more gold gatherers down, just so he can make sure he can get the armory upgrades and maintain double Taranga production. Madlib's actually really pulled ahead on unit counts here. Vahuva's leading in terms of eco at 52 to 47, but Madlib's army has just massed up a huge amount. Hoover's already getting plow, so he's already thinking about farming. He's getting Bard Hall upgrades. Trying to find some way to engage here, but Madlib's having none of that. Get out and stay out, he says. So spear production's restarted. There's triple slinger production here for the Hoover. And it's a surprise he's actually trailing in terms of population by so much, considering he did take a good fight in that initial fight. Like, things... Madlib made that first push, and it really didn't get him any value. It really just meant he donated an army to the Hoover. So, it's good to see that he bounced back and he's going to age 3 quicker. Because I think the Hoover possibly needed production a bit faster. He's already investing in farming as well. You know, he's already got the upgrade, already got his first farm. Getting plenty of wood. So Bahu's got to be careful that he doesn't sit in age 2 too long here and overgather wood and not have enough to try and fend off Madlib or, you know, try and even punish Madlib at all. Madlib with a well-placed watch post there. Oh, he's at risk of losing the scout. No, he backs out pretty quickly. It's a good idea to wall this in, actually, because it's a nice natural wall off with the trees. It's not a huge amount of walling he's actually got to do. And he protects double food source of gold and a stone source. He can probably go for the third TC here. Yep, he's actually going to do that right as I speak. So Madlib going age 3. Hoover, age 3 slightly slower, but he's getting a lot of good upgrades as well. Druid health upgrade. The damage is pretty inconsequential, but that health increase for your druids is really good. Just means they're tanky enough to be able to keep healing a little bit longer, keep everything else healed and have that damage buff. So the Hoover's got a pretty scary army here, but until he gets age 3 he can't actually invest in any stables. So he needs to make sure he's not got too much wood in the bank. And has still got plenty of gold, so he can also get, you know, Slinger Champion, Longswordsman Champ. Oh, I mean, Slinger Champ... The bonus damage versus villagers isn't really going to be of help to you in fights. Movement speed's handy for the kiting, but really it's just the range that's benefit there. Longsword Champ's great, though, because it makes them better against both the units they counter and the units that counter them. So Pierce Armor... Where is it? Pierce Armor plus melee damage armor and splash armor. So you can't really kill them as easily with ranged. You can't really kill them as easily with siege, like Scorpios and whatnot. Garda Warrior on the way. This is a really big upgrade too. Probably even better than Longswordsman Champ because it gives you attack range, gives you health, which is, and ignore armor, which are just universal upgrades at this stage. Because everyone's going to have a bit of armor. Nice little raid here from Madlib. Going to get a bit of value, kill a villager or two, and really delay a lot of gathering. The Hoover, no gold gathering at the moment. He's got plenty of food and wood, so he needs to get straight back on top of this gold mine ASAP to maintain his production. Stables, triple stables. A good investment. Madlib in the meanwhile going for sacred cows. Have we seen a monastery from Madlib at the moment? I don't think so. So, again, he's going shrines before monastery, which I was doing a lot of too myself. But I think if you can fit in a good timed Varni's Wisdom and make use of that reduced upgrade cost, you can have that pay itself off really quick. And then from there, it just makes everything really, really cost effective. Like all your upgrades are now cheaper. So you might think, oh, well, that's not giving me cheaper units, or it's not giving me stronger units. Why would I get that? Well, you know, you save the cost of the upgrade just by taking age 4. So if you're going to survive till age 4, every single upgrade you get after you've taken Varni's Wisdom is saving you money. Like, it's just an instant saving. So all your armory techs, or your eco techs, or your champion techs, and they get quite pricey. You can literally save a couple of thousand resources in age 3 and 4 because of it. And I'm getting a lot of upgrades here. Spear champ. Both age 2 armor upgrades. Vahuva's already got just about all his age 2 upgrades here. Really only lacking range damage. Horseman production. Starting out for Vahuva now, he's got plenty of slingers, and I mean, they're a bit of a dump unit against the war elephants, but they are going to be handy against the bowmen. And the horsemen are going to be very useful against those Ellies. But Vahuva needs to be able to try and split the damage up and not get a lot of overkill damage here. Well, Madlib, if he can keep the bowmen alive against the slingers and just force Vahuva to have to keep shifting slingers away from the war Ellies, this could be a good fight for him, but it looks like Vahuva had just enough to really rain hell on Madlib's army there. Madlib's going to have to retreat now. Plenty of resources in the bank, but Vahuva's up by 70 population now. This is very scary. Lots of longswords in production. He's got plenty of horse. Oh, Vahuva's got a lot of his army actually still in production. So this population's a bit misleading. He's actually queued up a hell of a lot more than Madlib has. Vahuva's actual army size is going to be about 150 pop. Yeah, it's about 150 to 110 pop in terms of the effective population in play. Madlib's slowly walling in Vahuva here. He's very good at this strat. Vahuva's really good at this strat too, actually. Where, you know, as play starts to slow down, or even while you're taking fights, just start walling off segments of the map. Make it harder and harder for your opponent to raid, to get peripheral resources, to set up for late game trade. Like Madlib, walling this side in would mean that Vahuva can't set up a market line here. I mean, you sort of can't anyway, because this wood line sort of dicks him over there. Ideally, you'd want to have it here to here. And that's kind of in the way anyway. You've got to pave around it and puts it at risk. So, but Vahuva's, it's hard to say where he'd be best off setting up a market line now. I mean, he can go for a shitty one here to here for the time being to get himself out of trouble. And Madlib walling in like this, it means he can go for a market here, funnel it all the way back to this back town center, and give himself huge gathering. Problem is, this is sort of in the way, and he does also need to cut a hole in here. Man, Celtic units look sick. Indian units look sick too, man. Like the Celeste civs look so impressive, it's great. But Madlib is trying to go for the push, but Vahuva's actually surrounded him here. This is not great for Madlib because now he's cut off from his reinforcements. Vahuva can actually have his reinforcements attacked from the front. And so Madlib's going to have to retreat, losing a blade chariot, which is a little bit costly. It's about 160 resources. Wall off there is not finished for Madlib, but Vahuva's also starting to go for the walls. So both of these players are renowned for very strong, smart, defensive macro play. You know, running around the map against each other. Oh wow, what? The wall off Vahuva, oh my god. The clutch wall. So Madlib can't really go anywhere. He's got to keep on running. Or just stop and take the fight. And he doesn't want to here. Vahuva's managed to wall him in. And this is really tough for Madlib. Having to try and cut through the gates. And he's just not going to be able to make it through. Upgrade for the walls kicking in there. Tech support. I shouldn't have pointed out that civ name, because I mean technically I guess that falls under casual racism, doesn't it? In what world am I getting up Madlib for making, you know, racist statements in AoEO? Like, Jesus Christ, I never thought I'd see the day. Usually, well, I'm not going to say it, but usually the one that's a bit more stupidly outspoken out of the two of us is me, for lack of better phrasing. But Vahuva, a lot in the bank at the moment. If he gets a bit more wood and a bit more stone, he is in a wonderful position. Madlib, in the meanwhile, needs to get a lot more food. Needs to keep maxing out, so he's going to burn through that gold. So he's well off age 4, whereas Vahuva, he could honestly pull some food gatherers off farming or whatever they're doing at the moment. Let's get a little bit more stone and a bit more wood. Doesn't even need that much gold, same thing. Put them on stone and wood and you can go to age 4 here, buddy. He's got all of his upgrades. Madlib's also got all of his upgrades. But this fight, it's a bit do or die for Madlib here at the moment, because he's not really been able to catch up in terms of army size. Vahuva with a great catch on the earlier army. But now it's Vahuva's turn to try and push and not have it work out as well as he'd hoped, I think. But this is nice for Vahuva. He's secured the gold mine. He's focusing down the hunt. Madlib's only just realizing now, so he's going to retreat all that. Does manage to save that Gatherer Ellie, which is going to be important. And he does hold off, so Vahuva still in front. And like I said, he's still got a bit more food and gold than he actually needs at the moment. Well, other than to produce and remax the army, but he probably wants to focus on a bit more wood and stone so he can get age 4 here. Can't just keep toying with Madlib in age 3 forever. Although, it has worked out pretty well for him so far. Oh, Madlib focusing down the wall instead of taking the fight here, so Madlib will have to try and turn and run, because I don't think he's got the army size there. Bowman now to replace all the slingers that Vahuva had, so he's got a much more well-rounded composition now, rather than one that's just designed to counter what his opponent's got. Oh, Vahuva's going to get out of there with those villagers, or at least some of them. But this walling, both these players, like I said, very strong defensive macro players. And really quite hard to shove into. Vahuva technically probably wants to wall that, but... Now, can Madlib deal with the backline here? I think it's going to be the big thing. Vahuva's happy to lose these longswords, because... Or, well, maybe not so happy to lose them, because I was going to say he can keep killing units as they're being produced here, but the downside is Madlib's got that much production, he can back up everything really quick, whereas Vahuva has to cross most of the map here. So Vahuva does have to retreat and find another opening. He's going to take out some more of the walls, just to make it easier for his army to engage and disengage. Getting some Woad Raiders in the mix just to jump on the back line as well. Madlib probably wants to try and add some more elephants here, and if he can fit them in, but at the same time he's done well to remass. He needs to replace one more house. Madlib's splitting up his, Vahuva's splitting up his army a little bit, and this does put Madlib's farms under a bit of threat. His plantations, which are basically giga farms. Madlib, why have you got villagers instead of gatherer elephants on the farm, man? So that's a nice fight there for Madlib, but at the same time Vahuva's actually pushing all this farm. The plantations don't have a huge amount of health, so they are very expensive to try and kill for the health that they give you. Madlib unsure if he wants to bring the farmers back or not, but I think he's got enough here to clean all this up. But the gather elephant falling. But the beauty is with the plantations, they can hold 2 villages, or they can hold 3 if you get bountiful harvests. So, and given that the gatherer elephants are just basically 2 villages in one, what that means is you can get 6 villager population on a single plantation. You know, making them, well, basically worth 6 times an individual farm, and you're paying the price of 2.2 farms to get them. Obviously you do have to get bountiful harvest as well. They're being repelled here, so having to clean up that stuff back there, then he sort of overproduced a little bit. Now doesn't have enough here to clean this up, so Vahuva doing a good job at being in 2 places at once a lot of this game. Also has a little pocket of units. He's going to sneak up here as soon as he sees Madlib attack anywhere else. Madlib trying to get on top of the market line, because I mean there's 3 markets now there for Vahuva. You won't be able to take them out easily, but you can take out the actual caravans, which I think is what Madlib was intending there. Oh, Vahuva's bringing everything together. He probably could have hit those farms. Oh, I suppose there is all that army there again. Vahuva's just going to try and bring everything together to clean this push up from Madlib. Oh, and Madlib can't reach the fort. He can kill the villagers though. He's got the bowman. So he can prevent it going up, but he can't actually deny the fort itself. The Hoover's finally walled in that back corner. I think Madlib was banking on the fact that he hadn't walled it in yet. This is exactly how I expected this game to go. Madlib getting the wall upgrade, but it is a little bit late there. Now, Madlib having to back off out of the Hoover's base. He's just got his whole army here. It's mainly just bowmen and spears. A couple of blade chariots in the mix now too. But man, Vahoover has just walled everything up. I know I often mention just how defensive Vahoover can play, and this is probably a good example of it. He just gets to the stage where he just sets the map up so he's just got that little bit better defensive layout, and then just proceeds to chip away at his opponents, slowly punish them. Make sure he's always fairly safe. Ooh, he probably wants to repair this segment though. Madlib doing well to get in there. Going for a fairly defensive market over here. In fact, this is a super defensive, only 65 gold per trip. And this is a nice push from Madlib because he's going to interrupt the market line for Vahoover, who's committed 3 resources to 3 markets and his trade, so big blow for Vahoover, but bearing in mind Madlib's trade isn't all that great either. And now Vahoover has found a bit of a gap in Madlib's defenses, getting in before that wall off finishes. I think this fight might be a good one for Madlib. He does have plenty of blade chariots here. These guys hit really, really hard. There's not a huge backline for Vahoover here, so... Oh, but Vahoover, with the Druid healing, he might have just enough to clean this up. And that's not great for Vahoover. A few bowmen getting cleaned up by the Taranga there. And he's proven to be ever the pest here. Madlib having to send a few units to come and protect this hunt here. What's that projectile that kept flying up? Madlib on the run. Over here once again. Oh, he's kind of backed himself into the corner, and now the Woads are going to be able to get a lot of damage done. He's cleaned up this left side, protecting his farms, but he needs to finish off this wall off and maybe even go for a fortress over here somewhere as well. That gold mine's not really been touched for a while now. Vahoover got on it early to try and deny it from Madlib, but Madlib's content to just rely on the gold trickle and on a fairly ordinary market line. So what do these guys trade for? 115 over to this corner. So this is a much better market line for Madlib. Sorry, I was paying attention to that for a little bit. Bit of action going on. Madlib trying to push on both sides of the map, getting repelled on the right side, but on the left he's able to try and take down one of these walls before Vahoover can set up a fortress behind it. Vahoover's going to try and cut through this wall, but at the same time, oh, we can focus down a couple of villages over it. Eco is 63 to 93 in favour of Vahoover, so Madlib has a much bigger army here. Vahoover has the ability to gather a lot more, has more in the bank, and has Age 4 on the way, but Madlib also has a bit of a bank, so provided he doesn't really lose a lot of army, I think he can overwhelm Vahoover here, who's just be fighting at a population disadvantage. Madlib's got a fair bit chasing his army here, while he tries to repel Vahoover over here at the top. Age 4 Vahoover kicking in. Madlib turning and fighting now outside of range of the towers and the TCs. And Vahoover's got to commit a fair bit more to clean this up, because without these reinforcements, Madlib would win that trade and start punishing the hunts. Start punishing the farms of Vahoover there. But in the meanwhile, this gives Madlib the room to breathe up here. Because, you know, Vahoover wasn't really backing that up. All these guys that he sent down to clean this up didn't end up backing up this army up here. Eco still definitely favours the Hoover at the moment. Madlib gonna start retraining all of his gatherer elephants. He's lost a fair few of those. Replacing individual villages at this point is probably not so necessary if he can just get caravans, but at the same time he is probably going to want to get the maximum number of gatherer elephants and then put them all on the plantations. And if he had done so, he could probably save one or two of these plantations. Well, save having to make them. Bountiful Harvest is, what, 350 resources? It's the cost of, what, 1.5 plantations? Or just over 1.5. So, really, if you take it, and it saves you any more than 2 plantations, it's already paid for itself. So India has a lot of techs like that, I think, where if you can figure out where to get them early and not get punished for having invested in them, you get pretty big returns for it. But it's interesting, Madlib still has no monastery, so he's not utilizing all the choose one techs for India. Granted, I do think it's probably the hardest part of the Indian unique kit to use, because monasteries, they cost as much as the shrine, but they don't have an immediate return. You've then got to invest in another upgrade on top of that for them to really pay for themselves. They're kind of in that weird little niche that the the Roman Forum is, where on paper there's some great upgrades there, but the fact that you've got to both invest in the building, then in upgrades from it, and probably be doing it around the time that you'd normally be getting armory upgrades instead, it just makes it very awkward to transition to if you're not ahead. If you are ahead, it's very easy to actually, you know, invest in it and get a lot of value. This is rough for Madlib though, like this caravan line, he's probably going to want to wall this in again. In fact, he doesn't need to go to the extent of walling down here unless he wants to secure the stone, because he's got to invest in more walls and he can get hit from 2 fronts. If he just walls here, I think it's a much easier spot for him to defend. But I suppose, on the other hand, Vahuva is pinching more and more ground this map, and Madlib's going to want to try and make sure he does maintain a fair bit of map control. Because Vahuva being age 4, he's already got access to the stone throwers. So if you can get them in range of the town centre there, it makes it very easy to take them out. So Vahuva trying to get as many buildings down as he possibly can here. Taking out production and houses is always nice. Leaves your opponent very wood-starved, makes it hard to remass armies here. And that market line is, yeah, very precariously positioned. Ideally, Madlib would have this walled, and even possibly set up a wall here, just to try and protect himself. But that TC going out now. Madlib's kind of having to commit to this. He does have Juggernauts in the mix. These are very, very tanky, and I don't know if there's any converting priests for Vahuva here. I don't think he's actually got any augurs. He's got a lot of druids, but I don't think he's got any augurs. So he can't really convert the Juggernauts, but he might not have to here. He's got just enough. He's able to clean them up. Oh, it's on 58 health. There are 600 resource units, so if you kill it, man, it is such a blow to your opponent. Oh, Madlib, no. He just needed some healing. Doesn't look like Madlib's putting any pressure on Vahuva anywhere as well, so it's all really coming down to Madlib's ability to try and turn this army around, and GG, Vahuva takes the game. So really crazy stuff. Some really good fights that game. Unfortunately, not for Madlib, but that last fight really went for Vahuva's way. Oh, he's got armory upgrades for age 4, so he's got melee damage and then both armor types. Whereas Madlib had really only just gone to age... Oh, he does also have some age 4 upgrades himself. Some really good stuff from our players.